Welcome to another exciting episode of Chai and Cabin. Today we sat down with Paige, and you guys, if you are interested in following the nomadic is that the word? Nomad lifestyle,
Yeah, yeah.
being fully virtual in an interior design business in the short-term rental space, which is like crazy to think about. Or if you are an interior designer who wants to get to the next level, you're struggling with like the business part of it, this is a podcast you are definitely going to want to hear. Jen, what did you think about this
Mhm.
podcast today with Paige?
Well, I've been following Paige for a while on social media. She has this amazing Facebook group community, designers, STR, investors. I mean, it's awesome. So lots of value in that. But just yeah, hearing her story about their like first burr that they did, and then starting a virtual design business in the STR space is amazing. And then she also talks about how to teach people to take pictures with their phones, which is like awesome.
Yes, that is amazing. I had no idea.
Yeah,
I,
she's got lots of great advice.
I really like her. She was so personable, and just so kind.
Yeah, she is. She is. She's very giving, very much community over competition, just very, very value add. So definitely
This is good.
watch this.
Yes, especially if you have just bought your first property and you're like, I need to get interior design tips, services, whatever it is. This is like the podcast. So for sure, enjoy. And before I let you guys go, if you're enjoying the content on here, hit that subscribe button and drop us a 5-star review. And then make sure you are following Jen and I on our respective social medias. We're always hanging around. I hang out on real estate Twitter. Jen, what platform do you hang out on? What social media? Where are you hanging out?
Girl, they can find me on Instagram, I guess, at STR Simplified, because that's easy.
I've been trying to step up my Instagram game. I won't lie. Where
I see you. I see
yeah,
you pumping them reels out. So
we're
yes.
we're trying over here. Where we're it's been really fun. It's been a chance for me to explore my creative side. I'm very business oriented. Very much numbers, systems, processes. Instagram has been a really fun, like creative outlook to share my story.
Yeah, it is fun.
Yeah, I really liked it. Enjoy, guys. Welcome to Chai and Cabins, where we talk all things entrepreneurship, short-term rentals, real estate, and business. My name is Rashmi, like don't rush me, and it's my pleasure to welcome you onto this podcast. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so glad to meet you. I've been in your Facebook group forever at this point. Absolutely
That's
love it.
awesome. I love to hear that.
And I know nothing about interior design. Like I'm one of those people. I just go hire interior designers, as Jen knows, because I like
Well, that's
smart.
great. We appreciate that. We appreciate that there are people like you.
It's so much easier. Like I just like to stick to what I know, you know?
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's so hard to
There we go.
explain too. Hello. It's hard to like
Hi.
explain to people when we're starting out. Like, people are like, oh, I can just pick it all myself. I'll just do it all myself. And I'm like, but you don't understand how much that is.
Yep.
I don't like it. Not my thing. It takes me like 10 times as long as it would you to do that. So it's
Mhm.
just not fun for
No.
me.
And like I don't have the time to be on Pinterest, and like try to figure out like does this work and like order it and then fix it and then I break it or I'm just like somebody just do this and like make it pretty and
Mhm.
here's the money and then I could just go put it on Airbnb and make some money.
Perfect. Hi Jen.
Hello.
How are
It's
you?
nice to meet you.
I know, right? It's funny. We've been talking for like years and
I know. There we go. I'm turning off my thing. Do not disturb me, people. Okay. Yeah, I know. I feel that way with a lot of people. I'm like, I feel like I know you, but I don't know you.
isn't
You
that
remind me a
weird?
lot of my friend Jordan. And you guys kind of look alike too, which
Oh,
is funny.
funny.
So
Huh.
come see us in Arkansas.
Someday we will. Someday.
I want to get into Paige and your nomadic lifestyle. Like that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing, honestly.
She's like, it's great.
It is. It's great. We love it. Obviously, like, it has challenges and stuff, but yeah, we've been doing it 3.5 years now and just traveling really consistently. I think the longest time we spent was in Colorado, like a year or two ago, and we were remodeling our property there that we turned into STR. And other than that, we've just really been like on the move.
I love it. I love it. So let's get started from like, where did this all begin for you? Like, where did you hear about STRs and how'd you get started in the space?
So I've been doing design for a really long time, like 12 years or something like that. And I started in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and we did a lot of really high-end, like massive second homes, but then we also did ski condos. And um like Airbnb wasn't a thing then, like STR wasn't a thing, but it was vacation rentals, you know. So it was just honestly what it was like predominantly the people who had the huge houses out of town also then would purchase an in-town ski condo to have like easy access to the slopes or like have somewhere for families to stay and stuff like when they came. And then they would also rent it out like in the rental pool. So we did those, and I always really liked doing those because there's just like a lot more room for creativity. But I never really like, I don't know, I never really connected it with like something that you could just do exclusively during that time. So then
What
when
year
we
was
started
this?
traveling, this was, so I started, oh gosh, like 2012 was when I started working. I worked for my mom, and she taught me everything like about design that I know. And so I worked for her until she retired in 2021. Yep. Um, and yeah, it just kind of snowballed from there. Like I kind of tucked that away. And then we also started like our real estate investing journey personally. And so along with that, like obviously, like I started joining Facebook groups and kind of seeing more about STR, and we traveled a lot before we even decided to travel full time, and we would stay in Airbnbs. Most places that we went, it's great with kids, obviously, you know, for a lot of reasons. They're great. And I'm being very long-winded, so break in at any point. But like anyway, it when we decided we wanted to travel full time, basically Justin, my husband, had been working at the power plant. He was an industrial mechanic, and we lived in a nice house. We had like a nice house, we had nice cars, we had all these things, but we just never got to see each other, and like really just started wondering if we could be doing something differently to like enjoy life more. Basically, like we kind of found that we weren't finding fulfillment in having just like the perfect life like from the outside, you know. So we kind of started talking about what that would look like, and we decided to travel. We decided that that's what we could do. We always loved going on trips, and like the feeling at the end of a trip, you know, like when you're just like, oh, this is the end, like this is the end, now I have to go back home, now I have to just like go back. We're just like, maybe we don't ever have to feel that way. And so we sold our house, and
What
we
year
did
was
really
this?
well. This was 2021. So, well, we
2021.
kind of started the process in 2020, but like, yeah.
And then did you have short-term rentals kind of before? Like, did you guys start buying before that, or were you like only helping clients?
We had long term, and so we had flipped one house before then and then sold it. Like we rented it, sold it, bought another. So we had long term, but we didn't have our own personal STR yet.
Okay.
But the design aspect really started from just realizing like in kind of navigating these groups and trying to learn more for myself, I realized that there were no resources at all at that time for short-term rental design. Like it wasn't even something that people talked about at all. So I was like, oh, like, well, I can talk about it and I can do it. So I did. And it just started building from there. And it just exploded honestly into something that like I never could have even imagined.
That's amazing. How many properties do you have now, and what does your real estate interior design business look like?
So well, we have two properties. We have one long-term and one short-term.
Mhm.
And our long-term is in Hayden, Colorado, which is like about 30 minutes from Steamboat, and it does pretty well, but they're really restricted. We would definitely do STR there. It's like hell no. And then our STR is in Craig, which is, again, it's like a secondary market to the ski town. And we do really well there. We get a lot of like hunters, skiers, all that stuff. And it's been great. We were like unsure about it, but it's gone really well.
That's amazing. And then you design properties all over the country?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I guess part of the traveling thing is we were like, okay, well, how are we gonna make money? How are we gonna afford to do this? So I was like, well, I think I can do design online. And that was not a thing at all before COVID. Like people, if you were to say like I'm gonna design your house and never even step foot in it in real life, they'd be like, you're an absolute crazy person. Like that's not a thing. You are not hired. But COVID helped in a way, and it didn't help a lot of things, but it did help in that way. And it kind of, I don't know, just even at the beginning, things were really a challenge in getting that stuff done. Like I would send just like these massive like sheets and dimension requests, like marked up documents with like corresponding lines and numbers that I needed for like every single dimension for every property. And then like a handyman had to go out and get them. And it was really like something that had to be cobbled together at the beginning, but things have progressed so much now with like Matterport and just even with like retailers and kind of discounted purchasing platforms that allow hosts to kind of put everything together themselves, that it's just really become a simple workflow, honestly.
That's awesome. What tools do you guys use?
I use I use a very interesting little, like, I guess it's still cobbled together, but it's cobbled together in a way that actually just works really well for a workflow, like a remote work workflow. Like I can do almost everything from my phone. But I use Matterport obviously to get
The virtual
property
tours?
scans and to make sure that I can get all the dimensions. And then I use a platform and I also teach it called KuHome, which is a space planning. It's a space planning platform, but it's all cloud-based. And so we do like space planning. It builds a 3D model for you. At the same time, we do rendering. So we can put all our furniture layouts in there, check art sizes, you know, light fixtures, check different finishes and that kind of stuff. And just be like super, super confident in, you know, that what we put in is going to fit. And then we use Canva and Google Sheets. And that's how we present everything to clients.
That is
Wow.
amazing.
Yeah. And are you working, like, are you contracting with other designers to help you to build this team, or how are you handling all that? Because I'm sure you get a lot of requests. I'm in your Facebook group and you're tagged all the time. So
Yeah. For so long, it's just been me. And this is my 2024 is the year that I've like really come to terms, I guess, with the fact that I can't do everything on my own. And that's okay, right? Like it's okay to not be able to do everything on your own. But I started a community of designers or people who want to learn or shift into short-term rental design and kind of learn the processes that I use. And it just, again, this second community also kind of took off and became a really amazing place where we can all just kind of like collaborate and rely on each other. But I started a co-design program, basically, where designers who have kind of moved through the resources that I've put together and are really confident on how to do all those things can then work with me directly on projects in like a very guided capacity. But then they're actually allowed to use those projects for their portfolios. So, and then like, you know, get referrals and stuff from me to kind of help as a leg up into this industry because it can be really difficult to kind of break into. So that's,
You know, one of the things
method.
my mentor always says, which I think you're doing like perfectly, is if you help other people be successful, you will be successful. It's like the whole reason we have this podcast. We can just help one other person get another STR property. If we can just help one other person quit their job. Like that's the whole
I love
reason.
that. I
Yeah.
believe that so fully. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I like loved it when you said that because I have a Facebook group. It's got 60 people and people aren't very active in it. And I still think it's a full-time job to manage it. So I don't know how you do it this many people and being tagged all the time. Like my Twitter blows up. I'm big on Twitter. And by big on Twitter, I just mean I like to be on it.
Yeah.
And
That's cool.
it's like comment section just like go crazy, right? And so like how do you handle like kind of all of that? Plus you have family, you have kids, you're a digital nomad. Like what does that look like for you?
And it's a great question. It's a question people ask me a lot, and I, to be honest, don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I have ADD, like legitimately,
Mhm.
and I think for a long time I tried to kind of keep myself from jumping from thing to thing and just say like, no, you have to focus on this. But now I think I've tried to like embrace it more and just say, okay, like my attention is shifting to this. Like I'm just gonna do this then, and then I'm gonna move back. And so I kind of have, I guess, like embraced the ability to just jump around and do a million different things. But I think that having a really strong support system and like really supportive family helps tremendously. You know, my husband is amazing. He does our property management and he does homeschool with our kids. He's a really great homeschool teacher. And just like I always have these just wild ideas, like these big ideas. And instead of being like, that seems like a lot, like, I don't think you should, is like, yeah, like go for it, you know, cool. Like, how can I help? And I think that really helps, honestly.
I love that. So I'm gonna go a little bit back and ask you if I am buying my first property or if I'm designing my first property, any tips you want to share with like a complete newbie? Obviously, tip number one is join Paige's Facebook group, which I will put on here. It is completely free. And please do not tag her. Please go use the search bar. It's
It's okay. You know, that's the nice thing about that community is that like we have built up, it is a very engaged community.
Mhm.
And so if I'm not there to answer a question, honestly, like 30 more people will be.
Yeah.
But it's a great way to kind of brainstorm things and to get quick information. The other side of the coin though is it can be overwhelming, and that is something that I try to tell people is to do your research on the important things, but kind of just go with your gut instead of, you don't want to overanalyze every single item or every single decision, because you can really get bogged down in like duvets versus comforters or like what material to put on your sofa. And, you know, I mean, just like every single item has all these decisions that have to go along with it that really can lead to just absolute decision fatigue. So I think that really my biggest advice is just to make a plan. Make a plan from the beginning rather than saying like, oh, I'm gonna wing it. Like I think we're just gonna, this is kind of the vibe we're going for. We're gonna go shopping. We're gonna grab some things, or I'm just gonna put everything into an Amazon cart or a Wayfair cart and check out, and then we'll install it. Like make a plan, do some space planning. Um, use a Google sheet, like keep track of everything, just know what you're looking for, know what your vibes are going to be, kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like ahead of time. And also really try to hone in on your target guest. That's the other big one is I'm sure you guys know this very, very well. And I'm sure anybody listening has heard it said before, but we cannot be designing for everybody. Like this is not real estate. This is short-term rental. And it's not residential, it's short-term rental. We can't design for everybody. So what we have to do, we don't have any other choice but to try to figure out as best we can, like who's going to be staying with us, why they're going to be coming, what about our property could attract them over and above what our comps are offering, and then go all out on like that person and that story.
How
So
do
I guess
you how do you
those are
find
mine.
inspiration? Yeah, how do you find inspiration? Are you on Airbnb? Are you in part of your nomadic lifestyle? Are you like going to new properties and you're like, this is really cool? Are you on Pinterest? Like, where do you find
I get
inspiration?
a ton from traveling, whether it's Airbnbs or just the different places that we go and different cultures and different lifestyles. I get just a ton of inspiration that way. But what I teach to my students, like in design courses and teach to designers, is Pinterest. Yeah, exactly. It's Pinterest. And now AI can also be really helpful. Like Midjourney, we're using that a lot to generate concept images. But but I'm old school Pinterest. You said you don't want to be on Pinterest all the time. Like that is where I shine. I can just be on there all day, every day. It makes me so happy. And I think that that's really part of it, is like pulling your concepts together ahead of time. And when you do start to pull all that together and then you look at it afterwards, like you'll see a theme emerge. And that's where you can really build a lot from that without copying just exactly what you see.
Paige, for your process, I know I've read you talk about it before. You talk about the story, right? Don't you have like an acronym that you like, your process is kind of an acronym and part of that is the story. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So going way back, I didn't go to school for design. I went to school for anthropology and archaeology. And I've always loved stories. That's why I did that, because I love stories and I love the history of places and of people and just why they do things and the past and the present and how they mix together. And I think that really plays a lot into short-term rental design, because we create a story for every property, and whether you know it or not, like you're creating a story, whether it's a good story or not a captivating story, it's a story nonetheless. So what we try to do is we start off with that story, and that's the first step of my method, which is the SUFF method. It's SSUFF, and that's story, style, which is the Pinterest part, upgrades, which are amenities, basically, and then function, space planning, organization, all that, and fit is actually sourcing everything, putting it all together, and getting your property going. But the story is something that we nail down at the very beginning, and it really dictates like everything else we do. And it should dictate, like what you're portraying to your guests in the photos and the guest experience when they stay there, any branding that you do, marketing. Like the story is it's part of that, and it makes a really awesome experience.
Yeah, and part of the story too, when people are looking online for places, is the pictures, right?
Yes.
So I know you're also really, I mean, I'm terrible at taking the iPhone pictures in general. I feel like just everyday life. I'm like, I just can't do it when I go on Instagram. But when I look at your page, I'm always like, oh my gosh, all the pictures. And I know you're showing people how to take pictures with their phone, right?
Yeah.
For rentals.
Yes. Yeah. I also have like a million things. Thanks for covering all this. It's great to talk about it. But yeah, so I do also do a photography course, and it teaches hosts how to take photos take their listing photos on their smartphone. And basically it's like getting the property ready, making sure you are getting the shots that do tell the story, considering time of day and light, and then how to hold the phone. And then it also talks about editing, and it's really for, I should like backtrack a little. I suggest that whenever somebody has the option or the means or resources to use a professional STR photographer, they should absolutely do that.
We're all nodding.
And yeah,
Everyone's like not on
like,
video. We're all like, yes.
It makes a difference. And like, I have great ones I can recommend. I know like everybody does, and I will sing their praises forever. But this course is more for if you are in a rush to get launched and somebody isn't available, you know what I mean? Or maybe in your area there isn't an STR photographer. It's better to have like STR photography than real estate photography. So I would not suggest just like hiring anybody to come out and shoot it. Like, inform yourself and then do it yourself if necessary. And then also times when we're updating seasonally, or if we add an amenity and we don't want to get a complete new photo shoot or pay somebody to come back out, like these are the times that the phone photos can come in really handy.
I'm going to go buy your course, because this is something I struggle with. Like, I'm in a lot of markets where photographers aren't readily available. In fact, the first hotel we took under management, they didn't have the money, and it's in an area where like I'm not going to get a professional photographer out there. Like, it's not going to happen. So my husband and I went up there, we got a tripod, and like he clicked photos, and then we send them to boxbrownie.com. And then we got we got the $1 edits. And they were great. Like we still use them and like they're great. And then my team goes in and gets a couple of edits done like for the spring, like little refresh stuff. And it's exactly how the property looks in real life. Like it's not like a lot. Like most people are like, but it showcases it much better than like me trying to just take a photo. Like I can't even take a photo of the moon and it looks weird,
Yes, that's true.
Same, yeah, same. I just like walking through my property, try to this. I don't understand.
It's in there. It's in the course. Are you, Jen? I feel like, have you been in it? If not,
No, I need to take the course.
I'm gonna
No,
add you guys both.
I haven't yet, but yes, I need to.
Cool. Yeah. It covers all of that. So it covers like taking for reals and like landscape versus portrait and the different settings and kind of like how to adjust for the light. And it's really interesting. It's crazy how, I don't know, how much you can level up those photos just by like a few targeted like adjustments.
Yep. And it's the little things, right? Like we have a property where we put up like the string lights, but like the lights weren't put up when the photographer came by.
Yep.
So like we like took the photos of the photographer and then I sent it to Box One and I was like, it's up here, but like I just kind of have to take a photo. So like this is a quick way to do it instead of having them come out again and like redo the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. And those little things like I feel like are important. They're important like because they tell the story, like those small details and showing them in the photos, it does tell the story and it kind of like sets the stage for the guests. And it's funny, like that's come up a few times recently in the group, where people are like, oh, everything looks great, but like I would get rid of those detail shots. And I'm like, no, that's not how I feel. I mean, everybody has their own opinion. What do you guys think?
I actually was going to ask, how do you guys feel about having people in your photos? I'm a big no. It feels weird for me to have other people in the spaces, but I know a bunch of people are testing it out.
I'm undecided on it still.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Like, I think the most I've done so far is like the charcuterie boards, like, just kind of like setting the table and things like that. I'm not sure how I feel about the people either right now. I don't know. Like, I get it for Instagram, but like you can have pictures for like Instagram or marketing, but I feel kind of weird having it on the listing, I think.
That's what I was gonna say too. Like, it's one thing to like picture yourself there, like because the vibes are so strong, and like conveyed really well. But like, I don't know. I agree that like Instagram, in my opinion, is more the place for those.
Agreed. Like Instagram is like the top of the sales funnel, right? Like we're getting all the people, but when they come to my direct booking website, the photos I feel need to be clean, and I just look at how hotels do it. Like there's not people sitting in the bed, right? Like that's like that's weird, man.
Kind of weird. It is kind of weird.
Yeah. Right. Like we all know that a million people stay in these places, but we don't really want to be like reminded that somebody else just slept in that bed.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. What do you have like oh, go ahead, Rashmi.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna ask Paige if she has any like kind of themes that she feel like you are are drawn to, like boho or which I don't know, like vintage, I don't know, Art Deco, like whatever. Do you have any that you feel like you're really drawn to or really inspire you?
I have a tendency like in my design to really pull together like old and new, kind of like more vintage feeling pieces like with more modern pieces, almost no matter the style. So it's just something that I kind of inherently do, and I recognize it when I go back later. I'm like, oh yeah, like okay, I didn't mean to do that, but that's how it is here. But in general, I really kind of just try to let the property and that story tell me what the design should be, or tell whoever is doing the design what the design should be, because I think sometimes we focus on those trends, and things definitely there are definite trends in short-term rental design, but the thing about trends is that they pass, and they pass pretty quickly, and then they look outdated, and then you have to deal with that. And unless, again, like if you are doing specifically like all out bachelorette party vibes in Nashville, like that's the place for trends. That's the place for the wildly bright, flashy, like disco balls and stuff. And then, and that's your target guest. So you are tailoring your design to them. But in other cases, I really do think like we pull together the property itself and what it brings to the table, like the target guests, what they're looking for, and then base the style on all of that in the area.
Do you feel like sometimes hosts go a little too much in kind of getting their property short-term rental ready? Like, I'm seeing like the crazy colored walls, right? And I'm like, well, in 3 years, if you're going to exit, like I come from a real estate investment perspective, right? I'm like, especially for people like I specifically buy in vacation only markets, right? So like if I'm selling to another investor or somebody who's going to use this as a second home. It's not a primary for most people. But if you're in the city and you're buying these properties, and I'm like, you have these crazy walls, it looks amazing, but like, does it help your resale?
Right. And I think that you kind of hit the nail on the head, like with that determining factor is like, what market are you in? Because if you are in a vacation only rental market, like then you don't have to worry as much. Like, that, well, I do still think you may want to be careful, like the extent to which you go and how much money you put in that isn't adding to the property value itself. I do think that you have more leeway than, like you said, if you are somewhere else where you may be in a residential neighborhood or in a city, in an apartment, and you funnel a bunch of time and money and resources into changing finishes or doing all this stuff that like immediately it is only an STR. Like that's what it is. It will never be anything else.
How do you like Facebook Marketplace resell spaces as opposed to ordering everything off of like Amazon, Wayfair, kind of like all the, West Elm, that kind of stuff? Like where
I love it. I love it. I think it should be done like with a intentional and light hand or by somebody who knows exactly what they're doing. I think that I can't like blanket statement and say that I think everybody should be just getting all of their furniture off of Marketplace, because sometimes people do that and it just really shows, like you can just tell. But it's like a treasure trove for unique items. And if you can find, a lot of times you can find like large upholstered pieces in incredible condition for just a huge discount. And sustainability wise, obviously, like that's huge, because unfortunately, like as much as I hate to say it, STR really is like the fast fashion of the design world. And it's kind of a bummer. It's something I kind of grapple with a lot. But again, like the fact that I do things remotely, so I'm not going to the property, I'm not local, like I don't get to use Marketplace and stuff like that very often for things. But I think that when hosts are local or designers are local to the property, it's like utilizing, I use thrift store. I love going to the thrift store for lamps and baskets and like the unique little things that go like on the shelves. If you don't want to like over junk them up, but just those unique items or books. I always try to look for like weird books with weird titles that people will see it and be like, what is this and why is it here?
I love that. Absolutely love that. It's funny, Paige. I'm a little bit like you. So I manage all my properties remotely as well and design them. I mean, I hired a designer, kind of spoke about that a little bit, but I'm not gonna say I'm anti Facebook Marketplace. But I am more so than I'm not. And the only reason is we get a ton of guests and sometimes things get damaged and it's really hard to find a like replacement. And the time value of me going through Facebook Marketplace to find a replacement rather than me going to Amazon, getting my cleaners to pick it up and installing it, like the process is a lot easier, especially when we file damage claim things. So
Yeah,
my kind of
that's
like
a great
motto
point.
my kind of motto has been like beds, TVs, like it's always brand new. It's our preferred brands. They're the most comfortable things. Duvets, like all of that, like straight off here. Coffee table, side lamps, like things that can be unique but are smaller price point. Let's look thrift stores, kind of, Facebook Marketplace. I'm very like 80-20 kind of rule on that. I don't know if that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's like my philosophy.
I think it's a great philosophy. I think that's kind of where I would align as well, like 80-20. And I feel that way too for stocking items. And like, like your sheets, towels, linens, like not that hopefully nobody's getting those off of Marketplace, but like, as far as, I don't know, sometimes people will get things on like deep discount or like clearance, you know, and get a bunch of stuff on clearance for their sheets or towels. And then you're like, oh, but like what happens when you need to replace them, which you will in like, 2 weeks.
Exactly. Yeah, and finding the replacement value was just so tough. Especially if anyone's ever gone to like Airbnb damage claim.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's a cute piece, but like the guest destroyed it, right? So I need to get it replaced because the next guest is gonna go like, where's my coffee table?
Yeah.
It was in the pictures. It has to be in the property, right?
And then I have 3 open Airbnb cases about a coffee table. Paige, I was gonna ask you, what is in your background? It looks beautiful. I see like green tile, but like, can you tell me a little bit more? That looks amazing.
I'm in my camper bedroom. This is my office. That's my
I love
headboard.
it.
Thanks.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, just kind of slowly. Oh, things got really bright here. Just kind of slowly, kind of working through this. We've lived in here for a while now, but kind of trying to like, I don't know, spruce it up. Campers are pretty boring as is, so.
I need a whole video tour. Do you have a video tour of this place?
I do.
I'm gonna go look on the link. That sounds amazing.
I haven't posted it yet, but you have
Okay.
inspired me to pull it out of my drafts.
Where are you calling us from?
We are in Rockport, Texas.
Oh,
Oh,
fun.
you're right in my neighborhood. We have a couple
Oh.
properties down there.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
we just got here a couple of days the Vacation Rental Design Summit and then drove over here from High Point.
So how was it convincing your husband to live a high-paying job, house, cars, like all of that behind to be in a camper van, and the kids, and like what was that lifestyle kind of change? Like I'm missing this. What prompted you to go be more online, be more kind of like I don't have to be in designer in person. So what did that conversation look like? And then if anyone's looking to make that jump, like what tips do you have for them?
So he actually convinced me, I will start off by saying, it wasn't, it wasn't hard to make that change. We both are just different. We've kind of always been different. I don't know. That's a weird like way to say it, but we've always just been a little different. And kind of the really been where we fit in. And we both knew that. And we've always known that. And so I think like it was a pretty welcome conversation when we started talking about it. And like we talk about it a lot. Like there's that quote that says like you weren't born to just pay bills and die. And so we're like, let's stop this track. Like we like to hang out with each other. That's our most important thing. We have kids and we're never getting to see each other. So what do we do to make it different? And really like it took a little while for the RV thing to grow on me. I was like, no way. Can't live in a space that small. It's not possible. Yes, do people do it? Yes, not I. And then we went and toured one and we looked at floor plans and really I started just thinking about it and getting in my brain and we found a floor plan that's really awesome. So I will say we don't live in a camper van. We live in a 40-foot, it's a 40-foot fifth wheel. So it's like really big. We have our bedroom here and then we have like a bunk room down the hall and a bathroom with like a full-size shower and kitchen, like living room. We have what feels like, actually plenty of space for people to live in. And it's been great. Like it was scary. It was terrifying. But we did it. And that's always my advice. Like whenever I'm asked that, my advice to anybody who feels like they want to make a change in their life, like it doesn't have to be like whatever it is, whatever that scary thing is like reach out to somebody who's done it and like talk to them. Reach out to me. Like I get a lot of DMs, but I will try to respond when I can because it's easy to say like we'll do it when or oh we just need to get to this point before we do it. But the thing is like that's made up. So you really can do it whenever. And there is no time like the present. Like we've had a number of situations like that just really drove that point home to us that like we don't know what's going to happen in the, we don't know how much time we have. We don't know anything. So like we just want to live our best lives today. That's all we can do.
I love it. So one question I always get, especially if it's their people's first property or even their third, do you think they should self-design or do you think they should hire a designer? What do you?
Oh, that's a loaded question.
You know where I stand.
I think that if you have the time and the passion, and the desire to do it yourself, that you should and you can, and you should just know that it is a tremendous undertaking, but that there are resources for you to do it and to do it successfully. I would suggest using resources like the group or a course or something like that, because it's overwhelming in a way that is hard to describe if you haven't done it before. Kind of like going back to like all those decisions that need to be made and need to be made like in conjunction with all the other decisions. It can be overwhelming. So you can do it. Lots of people do, but I would suggest like saving yourself the trouble and or like the stress and kind of working through a process or a course or something like that. And then anybody who doesn't feel passionate about doing it themselves, I would absolutely suggest hiring a designer. I think a lot of times people think that a designer is out of their price range, or it's not within their budget, and the initial ticket like does look high, the design fee, but in general, like I on almost every project save my clients off of retail more than they pay me in design fees, like by thousands of dollars. So they basically got like free design plus thousands of extra dollars savings. Just because we do this all the time and we do it every day and we know where to find the good prices on things like that are in stock, that will make the deadline, that will work with everything else, and that are at the best prices. So that's my 2 cents there. We know what we're doing and we can help, but if you really want to do it yourself, I absolutely believe that you should and you could do it well.
I love it. I was actually just reading your story here. Do you want to kind of share with everybody, like, what was your first deal like? How did you find it? Cost, rehab? Because these numbers look amazing.
Yeah. We lived in Steamboat right before we got married. We lived in Steamboat, which I don't know if anybody who's like listening or if you guys know anything about it. It's a ski town
really
and
nice
it's
area,
very,
like very rich people.
Yes. Yeah. The
All the
cost of
houses are
entry
insane.
is $1 million. There's nothing less than that. Nothing. And it just goes, I mean, it skyrockets from there. So we lived in an apartment, and we were paying rent, and kind of were like at that point where we were like, okay, well, what are we going to do now? We know they're going to raise our rent, and we should probably just be doing something that puts the money back into our own pocket. So we decided to start looking at houses. We looked at a number of them, and then my dad actually sent us this listing to a property that was a double wide on half an acre, and it was a Fannie Mae home path house, and it hadn't been winterized correctly, so none of the plumbing worked at all. All of the pipes were broken. There was no water, and it was just an absolute dump. But it was 3-2, and it was on half an acre with a beautiful, like, huge yard, like beautiful view out the back, and it was $70,000, and so we bought it. We used the money that we got from our wedding for a $5,000 down payment, and we just started like fixing it up and remodeling it while we lived there. And it was just like, $1 a square foot flooring. Like we did the painting, we did everything ourselves. And we did it for like $20,000. Like I did like concrete countertops, and it turned out really cute though. And so then we essentially bird it. Like we rented it out for a while, a couple of years, and then realized like that we wanted to kind of, I forgot to mention that we put it on a foundation. We got a HUD approved foundation. So we purged the title. So now is real property. That's a key factor here. but we kind of were like, okay, I think this might be kind of the top of what we're going to get out of this property, like time to shift up into something else. So we sold it and 1031 into actually the long-term rental that we have now, which was a new build in Hayden, like in a really nice subdivision. And we bought it for 70 and we sold it for 285. So it went very well for us. And then we kind of it's kind of become like our MO, I guess, because we did the same thing with the property that we did. That's our STR now, is we bought a double wide and we brought it from Wyoming. We subdivided my husband's parents' property in Craig and we put it on a foundation. And then we just like remodeled it to the point that you don't know that it was like a trailer house. I don't know. Like it's like you wouldn't know. That's our STR and it's on 5 acres. Just again, like killer views, beautiful property, like close to town, but completely on its own, and private. And we're at only 5 stars. So that's been awesome.
I feel like there needs to be a disclaimer here. If you are going to do what Paige did, make sure you talk to her. Most people, including me, can't go buy a trailer and make it not look like a trailer.
Right?
No, I would not suggest that to everybody, but it can be done, and there's a lot of upside potential in it.
That needs to be its own course. Like that
Yeah,
is
right?
incredible. I think you
It
should talk
does.
about that more. I had no idea. I've been in your Facebook group for years now. And I had no idea this was your backstory. Like that is
Me
really
neither.
cool.
It's something
You
like
should talk about
I
that
don't-
more.
maybe I should. Like I guess that a lot of times I don't realize that the things that other people find interesting or want to learn more about, like I think those are the things that like I'm like, oh, like maybe I shouldn't bring that up. Like that's kind of weird. Like for a while I really minimized the fact that we travel, that we live in a camper and that we travel. Like I kind of tried to like sweep it under the rug because I was like, I don't know if anybody's going to want to hire a designer who doesn't even live in a house, but
When their
interestingly
camper
enough,
looks like yours, they will trust
Yeah.
me.
When the camper looks nicer
interestingly
than
enough, I started saying, and then
our
people were
house
like,
does.
tell me more.
I'm literally looking to redo an office space for me right now. And you won't believe how hard it's been to find a designer where I'm like, I just need my office space. Like, Rita, I don't want to do anything fancy. I just need nice wallpaper, a nice table, and this. But if I'm having to struggle with something as simple as an office space, then I can't imagine what short-term rentals must be like for most newbies with like a 3-2. When people come to me, I'm like, buy a good-looking house that you can convert the garage into a game room, and that's as much rehab as you need to do. Because that's all I do. Like I'm not like an experienced rehabber.
It is nice. It's nice when the bones come ready. Like, and there's a lot to be said for both ways. Like adding the value through remodel is great, but also I think that just getting it ready, like, and just furnishing it, like it does take so much stress off of everybody's plates. Like, because that's always like a huge unknown. Like you don't know what you're going to get into when you start tearing out finishes. You don't know if your contractor is going to like
Bail
get
on
you
you.
in there on the right timeline. There's just so much that really goes up in the air when you're going farther than just furnishing.
Do you have any tips for any newbie designers that just bought their first property? Anything I know we kind of touched on the Facebook group, but anything else you recommend?
For new designers,
Or even real estate investors that are designing, maybe they're not even designers.
I think, yeah, just inform yourself and make a plan really are probably the big ones. And definitely like short-term rental specific, the story is everything, and always consider like the guest experience throughout. Like amenities are the other one, which I guess we didn't touch on too much, but that's a huge component of short-term rental design that does not exist in any other sector of design. So kind of knowing, again, your target guests, your comps. I call them upgrades in my method. I call them upgrades because I feel like there's a difference between amenities and upgrades. And amenities are what like everybody maybe has, but we call them upgrades because the first thing we do is look at comps and make sure that we have what they have and then have more. So those are our upgrades.
I love it. Do you have I know you have a mastermind and you have some programs. Do you want to tell our audience a little bit about those?
I will try and not a ton of words. It's kind of a lot, but
take all the time, girl.
Yeah,
I have like
good.
all these questions. I didn't even know about your iPhone
I
programs.
can hear you. I can hear you, Jen.
Can you hear
If
me?
that's yes, I can hear you.
Oh, good. It's not turning green. Okay, now it's turning green. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, okay. So I have the iPhone course, which is the small one, and then I have the free Facebook group, which is just a great resource for anybody who needs quick answers. If you want to go further than that though, and get like a very guided, like step by step, every step of the way through the entire process, in a self-paced, then I have the STR Design for Hosts complete design program, and that's just a standalone course. People can enroll in it, and it's made to be done in conjunction with actually designing a property. So there's no like time lost. Like you have a property, you're ready to design, like you can start the course and it will work you through every step of like getting it ready to launch. So, every single step. And then for designers, I have a low ticket membership community. So it's kind of came about from, I had a number of hosts who took the main course, and they did such an amazing job designing their properties that other people started asking them to do design for them for their properties. So then they came back to me and they're like, do you have business resources? Like, I don't know how to bill. I don't know how to charge. I don't know what deliverables to offer. So that's where this community came about, this subscription membership community. And it's called the Virtual Designers Inner Circle. And it's, again, just like a very like uplifting, tight-knit space where we have designers from kind of like all different parts of the journey, like all different backgrounds. Some are hosts, some are designers, some are hairstylists, some are, just everybody kind of has a common goal of kind of wanting to have more time freedom, have more location freedom, be able to do this like creative thing that we all love to do, or you have a passion for short-term rentals. And that's just a place where all of the resources are for the business side of things, actually like launching a business. And that is that. I think that's it. Maybe.
That is so amazing. I hope you know that. I know there's so many designers who are so great at what they do, but the business side of it, which is like all I ever think about, but I know for most people that's not like what they think about. So like that's serving such a good group of people, I think.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been great, and just kind of the people that have popped up in the community, and just the way that everybody's been able to kind of help each other being in different stages has been really cool.
Yeah, and I hope this helps any designer that's looking for maybe new clients, is talk to your property management companies that do short-term rentals in your community, and reach out to us. Like, we get owners ask us all the time, hey, do you have a designer who could help? And I'm like, I mean, let me go look.
That's so awesome. Yeah, it is. There are so many avenues. Like, I think, and that's one thing I really like about short-term rentals, about our community as a whole, and like the investing community, is that I feel like we are all very willing to share with each other and kind of lift each other up. Whereas kind of some experiences I had with like traditional design in the past were more exclusive and more like, ooh, you're not in our club, or competitive. But I truly feel and see and understand every day that like there is absolutely enough for like all
Everybody.
of us, enough to go around. Everybody's looking for help, like, and we all have so much that we can like share and bring to the table. So,
and the other thing I found about traditional designers is even their product was really nice. Like, they weren't willing to be unique. And short-term rentals are so unique. So if I want one property like vintage theme and the other one I want super modern, I couldn't work with the same designer. But with short-term rentals, I feel like they can be like, I can custom design this property for you.
Yep, absolutely. It really is like a whole other career, honestly. Like it is not, it's like a completely different um process, method, like different vendors, different everything is different in short-term rental design. Yeah.
What's next for you?
Good question. I don't know. Um, we're going to be here in Texas for a month, and then we're going back to Colorado. We're going to try to plant a lavender field in our front yard of our STR in Craig, like a little lavender farm, and spend some time there in Colorado with our families over the summer. And business wise, I never really know. I've never quite been like a 5-year plan kind of girl. I just do what works. I guess it goes back to like the ADD thing, but I kind of do what I feel passionate about, like what I feel like would be helpful to others, or how I can, yeah, how I can help serve what is needed in my whatever area I'm in. So that's kind of what I shift to frequently, and it's worked pretty well so far. But I never do really know exactly what's next. So,
Do you have like a favorite project that you worked on? Like what has been like one of your, or like a really like cool thing that you worked on or something?
yeah, my forever favorite project is it's a property called Rivers Rest, and it's in Narrowsburg, New York. And it's just like my clients were amazing, and they were so like open and creative, and like really let me be creative. And it just, I guess like that relationship and the property itself and the story just took such an amazing path. And it's so cool. I just love every single space there. And it really kind of, I think, embodies like me, me as a person, and like me, my design style, my in an ideal world. And it's just so fun. I don't know. That's my favorite for sure.
I love it. This has been so fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys. It was great talking with you. And like, yeah, great to meet you. And like kind of real life. We'll do real life sometime.
Yes.